say goodbye to the Warzone class setups you know and love because we have 5 brand new Warzone Meta loadouts that you have to try. And if you have a loadout better than these, leave a like and let me know in the comment section below. And the first weapon we're talking about is the ISO 45 SMG, which originated from Warzone 1. Now, although that gun didn't get any attention in Warzone 1, in Warzone 2 it will. And it has to do with the attachments I used to make the ultimate meta and make this gun fry, especially in those close quarter gunfights. As you guys can see from the firing range, this gun melts in a close quarter gunfight and even a little bit at the medium range. Now, although it does have a bit of a shaker for the recoil pattern, those long range gunfights are gonna have to leave to either your AR or an SMG like the MP7 or the FSS Hurricane. So if your shots looking like swags and your aim's all over the place, just be mindful when using this weapon for the mid-range and long-range gunfights. The first attachment I'm using is the 45 round magazine. This is a must. I was using the 30 round and it wasn't cutting it. It also goes down to the damage. I use the overpressured rounds, but I tune for both your damage range and bullet velocity just to help for the mid-range gunfights, because there's going to be times you find yourself in that situation. Like I mentioned, this gun has a bit of recoil, so the F-Tag Ripper tune for your ADS time and your aiming stability is going to help out a lot, alongside the PTX Barrel, which I tune for your recoil steadiness and your damage range. Now, this gun is quick, but it's not fast enough for your ADS and sprint to fire time. So, of course, I'm rocking the VOK laser tune for my ADS and sprint to fire time just so I could get my gun up faster than the opponents. Overall, this weapon's very fun to use and definitely better than the Warzone 1 ISO SMG. I wouldn't call this gun the ultimate meta, so I'm going to have to rank it somewhere around the 7 or 8 out of 10 range, but it is very fun to use. You guys have to try it. And the next class setup is the FTX Siege SMG pistol that just got a secret and huge update to it. And not only has this weapon been the #1 secondary to use and the most dominant, especially that you could use it underwater, but in the recent update, not only can you run 2, but there is an akimbo option to run 2 FTX Siege pistols on the same loadout. As you guys can see, you're taking out 1, 2, 3, 4 guys at once. Yes, that's what she said, but you could do it too. And you guys guessed it, the first attachment is the akimbo FTX Siege, making this gun absolutely broken, especially when it comes down to those close quarter gunfights. That's all over Vondel. And now that you have the option to run the pistols as a akimbo, the 72 round magazine is going to be even more broken than it once was. You guys can see in the multiple fights that I'm taking, I'm constantly pushing players left and right with very little time to reload because I don't need to. And in terms of the reload animation, it is very quick and easy. There is one downside to this weapon. I'll talk to you guys here in a second, but onto the third attachment, we have the Broen Pendulum muzzle. Now, as you guys can see from the fire range, up close, it's not really that big of a problem. Mid-range, the recoil makes it so hard to hit your shot. Not a lot of players know this, but you have to be very disciplined when using this weapon. Up close and personal, you're going to get the kill no matter what. But if you try to use this weapon in the mid-range gunfights, you're most likely going to find yourself at a big disadvantage. And unless you want to end up like somebody like Tim the Tabman, you have to run this muzzle with a tuning of gun kick and recoil stability. And the fourth attachment is going to be the CMR and 50 barrel. Now, this thing is a must when rocking this loadout. And I know what a lot of you guys are thinking, there's better barrels to use like the ratchet barrel. Go ahead and use it. But by using another barrel like the ratchet, you actually limit the other attachments you can use, so you're not able to use the muzzle, and the gun kick on the gun is going to be extreme. As you can see in the multiple gunfights I'm taking right now, there's a lot of kick to the gun off the initial first shot. So to limit that, that's where that muzzle comes into play. So make sure you guys are using the CRM 50 barrel. And the fifth attachment is the 1 milliwatt pistol laser, the best laser tuned for your hip fire control and tire bullet spread for the FTX Siege Akimbo pistol. Now, is this the ultimate SMG meta loadout? This gun is broken, but it's a little bit more situational. If I had to scale it 1 through 10, I'm definitely gonna give it a 7.5, pushing 8. It's not as good as the next gun coming up. The next weapon of choice is gonna be that 1 to 2 shot Bryson Shotgun that is absolutely broken. And not only is this class setup completely broken, but by far the most fun meta I've had in a long time. With the new map dropping Vondel, a lot of the gunfights I'm seeing with the secondary are usually stuck within a staircase or at the bottom of a little store on the top of a rooftop. That being said, this shotgun with a standard magazine size of 8 is going to be your go-to weapon of choice, with the first attachment being the sawed-off mod. This not only increases your ADS, sprint to fire, and movement speed, but also your hit recoil control. I mean, this thing is broken. As far as the underbarrel, we are rocking the pineapple grip. Now, this is the most accurate underbarrel you should use, and it is made for your hip fire control. And all the fights you're seeing today, man, I'm only hip firing with this shotgun. There's never a time where I'm trying to ADS with it. It's just not made for that. And if you're a fast run and gun type of player, that's how you should be using this weapon. At any point, if you want to run a shotgun with a little bit more of a faster ADS time and not a hip fire build, here it is on the screen for you guys to check it out. But I prefer the hip fire Bryson shotgun. And why I'm using the Bryson 890 over the Bryson 800, the Bryson 800 has a bit better recoil control and accuracy, but when you're using a shotgun, that doesn't really matter. Bryson 890, however, has a faster fire rate, and on top of that, just a little bit better handling than Bryson 800. So it's a preference that I like to make, and the magazine is a lot easier to reload. Onto the third attachment, we're using the Bryson choke, tuned for your tighter bullet spread and your damage range. Now again, this is a hip fire weapon, but you still want your slug rounds to hit pretty point on. And to have a little bit more damage range, we're rocking the 21.5 Bryson Tackfire barrel. It not only has that damage range, so you're able to kind of, you know, win those gunfights a little bit easier, but as well as tighter bullet spread and bullet velocity already built into it. And to make that even better, tune it for your recoil steadiness alongside your damage range, so that shotgun is going to be used in almost every mid-range gunfight alongside your close range. However, what I learned is being ahead of the meta and enjoying it before everybody starts rocking the same thing is a lot more fun than, you know, going up against 100 shotguns. Make sure to sub and drop a like. But moving on to the 5th attachment. But for the 5th attachment, we're rocking the Point G3P04 laser. Now, this is the best laser out of all the ones you see here for hip fire accuracy. Again, the 7 milliwatt might be a little bit better for your ADS and sprint fire time. However, that is not how we're using the shotgun today. We want to break that hip fire and use that to our advantage, and that's going to be with this tuned all the way up for slide hip fire accuracy and your hip spread. You'll see a couple kills here with this slide, and honestly, it actually does help a lot. And if I had to rank this gun on just fun 1 through 10, I'm gonna give it a 10 out of 10. But to rank it against the ultimate meta and the new season meta, I gotta give it around an 8.5 to a 9. The classes are only getting better. Drop that like. And the next meta class we have for you guys is the old reliable M4, but with the new and improved health on Warzone 2. This gun is by far the most viable out of every class that I've used today. All the ARs you can use, there are very few, if any, that you could use without a sight, and the M4 being that one of a kind. And like I mentioned, with the 50 HP health increase that players are now having, the 60 round magazine is a must compared to the 45. And to make sure that M4 doesn't slow down too much, we have the FSS Oli laser. Now, you have to make sure you tune this correctly for your sprint to fire time and your ADS time. That's going to make the weapon a lot more viable and easier to use for the mid-range and close-range gunfights. As you guys can probably tell, I'm taking a lot of fights in the medium range or even in a staircase or bottom of a building, and at times it's the only weapon I have in my hand, and this attachment alone is what really helps you win those gunfights and makes it so easy. But we got to up the damage. To up the damage, we're going to be rocking the Hightown 20-inch barrel. Now, this is for your bullet velocity, damage range, and then you tune for your recoil smoothness. However, what makes this attachment so important out of all the other attachments you could be using for your barrel is actually when you ADS with this weapon. Now, compared this to another barrel on the M4, the visibility you have when you ADS without using a sight is a lot harder to see those opponents, and with the fog dynamic now on the new map and players camping in corners or on top of buildings, or you got Timmy Toucans doing what he does, you need to be able to see your opponent, so make sure you have the Hightown barrel and then you tune it for the damage range and recoil smoothness. On to the 4th attachment. The M4 doesn't have too much kick, but we are going to be rocking the sock and thread 40-inch muzzle, tuned for your recoil smoothness and recoil control. Now, that attachment alone is going to help with the first initial fire rate on the weapon and then kind of smooth out the recoil throughout. That's not going to slow down the gun too much compared to a muzzle like the suppressor. So unless you really have a die-hard fan base of using suppressors on your weapon, this is the muzzle you want to rock. Now, like I mentioned before, the M4 is a very viable weapon. You could use it in almost any case, close range, medium range, long range, it doesn't matter, especially with the 60 round magazine. Back out of the 5th attachment, we were rocking the FTX Ripper, and of course tune for your recoil smoothness and aiming idle stability. Basically, that's going to eliminate the horizontal recoil on the M4. Now, this attachment is optional. If you feel comfortable enough to rock the class setup without the FTX Ripper, the 5th attachment you would use would be the high velocity rounds tuned for your damage range and bullet velocity. This thing makes the M4 hit almost as hard as a Cronin, and honestly, it makes it move a little bit faster, just a harder to control. For the last and final weapon, we have the brand new Tempest Razorback. This gun feels exactly how you would imagine it to, and similar to M4A1, you can use it in multiple different situations, whether you're taking a close quarter, medium quarter, or even long range gunfight. Now, the first class I'm showing you guys is the ultimate Razorback, but I also will be giving you guys 2 variations of the weapon, so if you want to use it more as an AR or as an SMG, you have that option. But for the first attachment, we are rocking the 60 round magazine. Now, this is going to be standard across all weapons, but something a little bit different is the Cronin Mini Pro sight. Now, for the tuning, when it comes to this, we go all the way for your ADS and far to reduce the visual recoil while still having a very fast ADS time. This gives the option to use the weapon at the medium to long range or the close range while not having any penalties whatsoever. When it comes down to tuning, we focus on the recoil steadiness and the damage range all the way up. In this gameplay, you guys notice this gun has a very fast fire rate. However, it does have a bit of recoil, so pairing up the sock and thread muzzle alongside the FTAC Ripper to reduce that recoil and increase the stability is gonna be what you need to rock if you want this gun to be viable. Now, that build is one you guys are seeing right now. However, if you want a build more focused on the AR side, what you're gonna do is change that barrel to the 17x10 XL. And let me tell you guys why this barrel is so important. This is the first time in the history of Call of Duty where equipping a barrel also equips a sight, so you don't have to rock a sight because it is built into the barrel. And that beautiful sight being the 4X gonna have a bit more kick to it, so replace the FTAC Ripper for your pineapple grip as well tuned for your recoil stability. Now, because we have that extra slot on the sight category, we're going to go ahead and add a new attachment, and that's going to be as your ammunition. The high velocity rounds tuned for your damage range and bullet velocity is going to make that gun shoot harder and a lot faster. And the last build I have for you guys is for a little bit more of my movement demons. If you want something in their face and you're only focusing on using one weapon, you're going to have the sock and thread muzzle alongside the tac 2-1 barrel. Now, these are going to be a combo you're going to be using. However, we are taking out the FTAC Ripper. And alongside the sights, we're going to go ahead and replace those with the FSS Oli laser tuned for your ADS and sprint to fire time, and your OPR threat stock tuned for your ADS and aiming idle stability. Now, this class setup is very run and gun. Let me know what you guys think, and make sure you guys drop a like.